Hey guys, gals and non-binary pals, it's Akira here, and today we're going to be going over my rough sketch design process for Bob. Bob is a little Grim Reaper character from my upcoming series Corrosive Death. He's snarky, sarcastic, a trickster, and easy to annoy. Despite his big personality, he's a very small guy. I think it's comedic to give a character that behaves like this a cute design, as it's a stark contrast on how he wants people to view him. I decided to record my process of sketching out character designs for Corrosive Death so that I can share it with you guys, and hopefully create some hype around it as well. I won't post these sorts of videos on my Corrosive Death channel, as I want that to be reserved for animation tests, teasers, and eventually a trailer. Behind the scenes stuff like this will stay on this channel. Now, as you may have noticed from the thumbnail of this video, this drawing is indeed a rough sketch with colours and not clean. You might be wondering why that is. Well, I decided after many weeks of missing out on working on this project, because I had priorities on other projects, that I would scrap my goal of making clean character turnaround sheets. But before we get into that, this video is sponsored by me! Consider pledging to my Studio Ghibli fan enamel pin Kickstarter and help the cat bus pins out of their prison cell. We're 91% funded, every little penny and share counts. Okay. Now back to the video. Instead, I have organised my pipeline process as follows. Draw rough character design sketches for any characters that appear in the pilot or comics. Write, sketch, and create a bunch of short comics that I'll make into an anthology comic book. This is so people can get a feeling for who the characters are and what the world feels like before I go further into the pilot production. But nothing too much gets spoiled in these short comics. Save up enough money to hire an occupational letterer and inker so that the comic moves a little smoother, though I'd still be writing, sketching, colouring, and rendering all myself. Publish the comic when completed. Finish placing the temporary sound effects in Scratch Audio. I've already made the Scratch Audio for the voice acting, so that's already half done. Start drawing out the storyboard whilst using those rough drawings as reference to go off of. Save up more money for the following: voice actors, background artists, prop designers, music composers, and sound designers. Clean up those rough character designs so that I have them for reference in the animatic stage. Also create style guides and expression sheets. I would then do the entire animatic by myself. The animatic stage is like a slightly cleaner stage of the storyboards, placed into a video editing software. That way the timing can be figured out before the animation stage. Hire background character designers, now that I would have a style reference for them to use. Then I'd do the colour keys, which is the phase where you colour in thumbnails for the animators and compositors to use as reference. Animation tests. Create an organised animator briefing before looking for animators, that way everything hopefully runs a bit smoother. Review each step of the animation from the roughs to the cleanup stage. I would then import all the PNG sequences into Davinci Resolve to put it all together. And then boom! One single episode of animation made. Man, that is a lot. Animation is very costly and takes a very long time. I'm hoping that my commissions and online store will eventually take off so that I can fund this project. But in the meantime, I'm focusing on what I can do, which brings me back to talking about designing Bob. Bob is probably one of the easiest characters to draw in my Corrosive Death ensemble. I knew exactly how I wanted him to look before even putting pen to paper. As I sketched him out, I knew I wanted to give him something less generic than a scythe. So I gave him a staff with a kookaburra skull on top, and feathers dangling off of it. I did this to add to the fact that this show takes place in Australia. However, by pure coincidence, the kookaburra feathers can actually hold symbolic significance. They can represent completion of family, healing old wounds, healing others and self, conquering fear, ending old patterns, turning hurt into happiness, hunting down your own truths, and so on and so forth. This is such a good coincidence, as Bob has certain abilities and attributes that could fit into some of these perfectly. Also, his mere presence can indicate a few of these things for the main characters. I obviously can't spoil too much, but these kookaburra feathers were just meant to be. Also, I'm gonna say it before anyone else does, Bob is very marketable plushie shaped. Mark my words, he will be a plushie one day. I enjoyed sketching out the expressions for Bob, as whilst they are simple, they are also extremely satisfying to draw. With all that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my work, consider subscribing to my channel. I tend to make speed paints and art-related commentary. If you want to financially support me, I have a Patreon where you can get all the behind-the-scenes stuff, works in progresses, artworks without watermarks, and early releases of art. All for the low price of $5 Australian a month. I have an Etsy store where I sell physical goodies, like pins, prints, stickers, and standees of both original stuff and fan art. I also have my commissions open. If any of that interests you, consider looking at the description below for the relevant links. My social media links can be found there at the bottom as well. But always remember that likes, shares, and comments help out a great deal as well. Also, if you make fan art of my characters, feel free to tag me and I'll shout you out in one of my future videos. As always, make sure to drink some water. This has been Akira O'Halloran and I'll see you next time.